In this lesson, we're going to learn how to play the Jack Johnson song, Banana Pancakes. And this has, well, quite a few chords in it, a little bit of lead stuff going on. And so it's really going to, put to test some of the skills that you've been learning in all these lessons. So, it's in the key of G. And the intro of the song starts out with this riff. Okay. So I'm starting on the A string here. And then going down here to the E with open. And then playing an A minor chord here. And the second time around, we end up here on the 3rd fret of the E. It's on a G. So we basically two riffs. With the A minor chord. And this goes with the G Dom 7 chord. Now, on the record, Jack plays this at least an octave or two lower on the acoustic, but this is the way we're giving the same notes on the uke. Now, when I play this G7 chord, the note I ended on the riff here is taken over by the open strings, so it sounds right. Like that. So playing the whole intro, when you get to the end, the intro is kind of felt. It's not really played entirely in time, but it's mostly played in time. But then at the end, it just sort of comes to what we call a fermata, which is the last note, and you can hold it as long as you want. It's not played in rhythm. And then the way things start off, to get into the verse, we start with two D7 chords, like this. This is maybe a new chord for you. 2nd fret on the G, 2nd fret on the E. And the feel of this, let me just sort of play the end of the intro, and I'll go into the verse so you can get an idea of the feel. So it's a little tricky getting into the verse, but once you're into the verse, there's really just 4 chords that cycle over and over again. So we have the G7, we have the D7, like that, basically 2nd fret on the G, 2nd fret on the E. Then we have the A minor chord, which is just the 2nd on the G. Then we go to a C7 chord, which is the 1st fret on the A string. So, G7, D7, A minor, and C7. And it's played in this sort of swingy quarter notes. So once you get the hang of those 4 chords, the tricky part is getting into the beginning of the verse. And basically you have 2 of these downstrokes on a D7 chord. So it starts off, think of it as a pickup note, like 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So those first two D7 chords are really pickups. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. And this goes on for about 8 times. And then we go to an A minor and to a G7. Again to a G7. And then it's back into the verse again with those same pickups on the D7. Now, in that section where I'm just playing the A minor to the G7, you can also play the riff again. So. Here we go, A minor, and the riff. So really, once you've played the cycle of those two sections 2 different times, then it goes into, well, at least what I'm calling the bridge, where it continues on between the A minor and the G7 to a D, a regular D, not the Dom 7, and no riff, just these two. And then next we get to the part where all the chords are. So there's a B minor, and that's basically like an A minor, like this, but we're scooting up 2 frets to get to the B and barring across the 2nd fret there. Like that. So we go back and forth between the A minor to the D, A minor, regular D, and here we go to the B minor. And then this is the tricky part. So there's an E minor, which is like this. And then the chord's an E minor over a D sharp, which I know that's sort of confusing, but basically all it means is this note scoots down a fret. So the E minor, and then scoot that, your 3rd finger down 1 fret. It's just for a second. And then we go to a regular C. So after the C, we go back to a regular G, then a regular D, and a regular G again. And then everything's going to start over again back to the verse, and you have that pickup on the D7 chord. So let me play through the whole bridge again. Again, this is really the complicated part of the song. Starts off with the A minor to the D. Now here comes the B minor. And the crazy stuff. So I'm back into the verse there. Now, as far as the arrangement, it basically goes through that verse again, and you get into the riff section. And it really just sort of vamps out on those two chords like that. So if you can make it through the bridge, you're home free. And that's really the hardest part. I mean, the riff itself, being able to play that with the chords, that's a little tricky. But then that B minor section, going from the B minor to the E minor over D sharp, and then the C. If you can get to there, you're going to be all set. Then we get the end section. That's kind of fun to play around with once you get the hang of that riff. It makes for a fun song to play. So there you go, Jack Johnson, Banana Pancakes.